I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're stepping into a world of childhood imagination and courage with a terrific book. It is called Moonlight Monsters, and it's written by a wonderful author. Her name is Heather Millard, and this heartwarming and empowering children's book tells the story of Alexander, a young boy who faces his fear of shadows by discovering bravery within himself. Packed with whimsical characters and a powerful life lesson, this story helps kids realize that courage isn't the absence of fear, but choosing to act despite it. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Books to Life Marketing for helping us put her in the spotlight today. We ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Heather, great to see you here today on Spotlight. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Great to have you on the show. This is an amazing book. Tell the folks at home a little bit of what it's about.
Well, it's about four shadows, and they've all got different personalities. And one, of course, is called Jangles, and I called him Jangles because he's wearing a military uniform and lots of medals, and he's sort of the leader of this group of shadows who've come from an office. And then there's Mozzarella, and he frightened George Washington. And then there's Zazu, or Daisy. I changed her name from Zazu to Daisy, and she has a feather in her hat, and she keeps touching it to make sure it's there, but it gets in people's faces and tickles them. And then there's the heroine, my heroine, Ritzi, who's round, and she is late for the job. She needs the job, and she's arrived a bit late because she couldn't find her left shoe. But
Amazing.
her friend Daisy says she'll be here, she'll be here.
Yeah.
And then Jangles says they're going to fly up to Alexander's room. And Ritzi said they didn't tell me that flying was part of the job, and I don't think she really wants to do it. But when she finds herself going up in the air to his wall in his bedroom, she realizes it's a lot of fun flying up there.
Yeah.
The moon is shining, and so the shadows appear on Alexander's wall.
Wonderful, wonderful. Such amazing characters, such imaginative stories. I think their names are great. They kind of relate to children. Children like saying names like Jangles and Ritzy and Zazu and all of the others, don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Have you envisioned this perhaps as a film or a TV show for kids so they can get the message as well through that?
No, I haven't, because I'm working on a very serious novel at the moment that has about 500 pages, and
Yeah.
I've been working on that for about 30 years. But
Oh, it's
it's
a
because I want to dedicate it to the soldiers who went to England in World War One and World War Two to help the mother country. I call them the mother country, even though 2026 is the year of independence from them.
Mhm. Yes, yes. Tell us about that novel. It's 500 pages. What's the working title and what's it about, more or less? You mentioned the soldiers, of course.
Well, it's called United by Blood because I still feel America is united to England. And
Mhm.
it's about the fact that even though there was independence declared in America, well, the states or the colonies at that time, it took 7 years actually from the declaration for the rest of the world to recognize that America was a sovereign country. And there were a lot of things that had to happen before uh, people accepted, before the King of England even accepted the fact that America was now United States of America.
Amazing. 500 pages is a considerable length. It's kind of an epic story, I guess. Does it span over a number of years?
It begins in 1763 and it ends in 1783. And there's fictional characters, and then there's characters who were responsible for signing the Peace Declaration in 1783. Yes.
Wow. What's your
In
research been like on that? How's it been researching that era?
I've loved every minute. It's made my life so interesting. I think of it as a hobby. If anything ever happens and the book gets published, I'll be happy. But if it doesn't, it's still made my life so interesting. But children's stories I still love. I have many, and I thought about it being a good night with Heather. And because parents are so busy nowadays, they don't always have a chance or time to read to children when they get into bed. And I thought, well, maybe I would do some kind of a recording of these children's stories, and the parent could just put the CD or whatever. I don't know much about technology. I'm 97, so
Oh.
I'm in the times.
Well, you're doing great. You don't look 97. You look decades younger than that. So you've got a lot of
Oh,
energy, a lot of vitality, and that's wonderful. So how many children's stories have you written?
well, I've probably written about 10.
Wow.
And this is the only one that I decided to publish. I self-published it,
Hmm.
and I don't know. As I say, I've got a lot of work to do, and maybe I'll make 100. If not, if I'll just hope maybe my children and grandchildren will perhaps do something with it. Who
Yeah.
knows? Knows whatever
Exactly.
will
Nobody
be will do.
knows what the future holds. But the book is wonderful, so we're glad you published it. It's a wonderful story. Out of the 10, why did you choose this one?
Oh, that's an interesting thought because, you know, I was in Cornwall in England, and there was a woman who was very wonderful at pottery, and she made four characters, uh, and they're not illustrated in the book, I'm afraid, but there was something about these characters that intrigued me, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll write a book about them. And my grandson was a bit scared of going to bed at the time. And he thought, I read there were monsters in cupboards, monsters under the bed. And I thought, well, they could be monsters on the wall.
Amazing. Well, I
I'm
like that. Well,
laughing.
kids do look at shadows and imagine all sorts of things. They could be the shadows of monsters. They could be monsters themselves. I mean, you never know what's going on in a child's brain, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a tree, you see, outside of his window. And when the wind blows, the branches of the trees
Mm.
make the shadows on the wall come as if they're about to smother him. So he dashes out of bed and he goes downstairs, sliding on the banister into the kitchen. And his mother has just taken out some chocolate chip cookies. So she says to him, I see you smelt the cookies that I've just made. And he says, yes, can I have one? And then he thinks, and then he says, no, can I have four? And so anyway, she says, only one and clean your teeth afterwards. And he goes up the stairs trembling because he knows they'll still be on the wall waiting for him. And he thinks then about how Mozzarella has told him. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Ritzi, when she sees Alexander under the sheets, sort of a hump that's moving towards the end of the bed when he sees the shadows, she says to him, Alexander, this is Jangles. She introduces the shadows, and then he's surprised. He's never heard the shadows or monsters talk to him before. And then she sees that he's so scared, and she thinks, how can she help him? And she says, why don't you think about the monkeys at the zoo and have a happy thought instead of your scary one?
Right.
So that's what happens. So anyway, he's going up the stairs and he thinks, Mozzarella also told him he had scared George Washington, but what George Washington had grown up to be very brave, of course. And so when he gets upstairs, he puts the one cookie that his mother's given him on the bookcase and and he says to them, you're going to have to share this one cookie. And of course, when he wakes up in the morning, he sees the cookie still there, and he remembers that Jangles says to him, brave boys shouldn't have to share their cookie.
It's a great story. It really is. And children just must delight in it. Why do you think children have so many fears and trepidations at bedtime? They're afraid of monsters under the bed or monsters in the closet or shadows on the walls. Why do you think they have so many fears at nighttime, bedtime?
I think that's such a good question. That's such a good question. There's so much that children have to learn before they grow up and how they misinterpret things, perhaps. And of course, they're very creative and they're curious. And they sometimes I think people scare them or they see scary things. And then they think, oh, when they get into bed, oh, is there something under the bed?
Exactly. It might even be our instincts. It might be our instincts that when the night goes down, the light goes down and it's nighttime, that there are predators out there. I mean, if we were animals in the woods, we'd be, nestled into our tree or our cave or in our hole. And I guess the same kind of instincts tune on for a child that it's dark outside, something dangerous could happen. And it's so good to have books like yours to reassure them that it's probably just up here. It's probably just your imagination, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope
With
so. Do
without a
you
doubt.
have children?
Do I have children? Yes, I have three children.
Oh, you
Yes.
do? How
Yep.
old are they?
They are all grown up. They're so old I have to lie about their ages. That's how old they are. I say, you're getting older when you not only lie about your own age, you lie about your children's ages. No, my kids are grown adults, yes, without a
They
doubt. But I
boys.
do remember story time and, them clinging to daddy because they were afraid of this or that or the shadow or the light in the hall. And can you stay in a little bit longer? I think children really want to get you to spend a little time with them when you're putting them down. That's why they like the whole tucking in ritual as well, right?
Of course.
Yeah. How about yourself? Do you have children?
I have two children, two daughters, and now I have a great granddaughter,
Mhm.
and another one will be born. I don't know if it'll be a daughter or a son, grandson. And that event is going to happen in October. So,
Wonderful.
and I'm thrilled because it's as if I've started a dynasty in America because my husband and I came to America in 1952.
Mm.
And we have had such a wonderful life because we have lived here and people have been amazing to us. We went back to England after a while of 20 years. My husband had a job in London. He was a pathologist. And all the friends that we had made a couple of years later sent us airplane tickets. They gave us a car. They gave us an apartment on Miami Beach and parties and welcomed us and back. In fact, so much so they made my husband offer of another job. We couldn't resist. So we came back for another 30 years. And during World War II, I went to school in New York for a year and a half. Um, and so America is the most wonderful, wonderful country. I love
Really
it.
is a wonderful country. I know I'm prejudiced because I was born and raised here, but there's so many diverse areas of America, of the United States. You've got Florida and you're in the tropics. You've got New York City and you're in a beautiful city like London. And you've got the farms in between. You've got Alaska, where you can be out on the tundra. It's just amazing all the different places you can be within one country here in the United States.
Absolutely. And of course, America was considered the land of opportunity.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to be royalty or in the aristocracy to be able to live a good life. In America, you could live like a king if you wanted to.
Exactly, exactly. When you first settled to in America, where did you move to?
Miami,
Miami. Okay. That's an
and we
unusual place to go directly. Usually you go to like New York, Chicago, LA, and then later when you're older, you go down to Florida. But you went to Miami right away, right?
well, because my husband had a job at Jackson Memorial Hospital,
Mm.
and I was selling from door to door, and uh, and then we became citizens. And at the time, you could have a dual citizenship, but we said no. We're going to give up our English citizenship and only be Americans.
Wow. That was great. That was great. Well, the UK is a beautiful country and region as well. I was over there back in the fall, and I was in Edinburgh at the
Oh,
Parliament. And guess first a bunch of soldiers come marching down the street, and then a big limousine comes down the street, and then pops out, of course, is the king himself. So I got to meet the king for a little bit,
you
and that
got
was
to
quite
meet
fun.
Charles the Third.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah,
how extraordinary
it
for you.
was. I know, very, very lucky, very lucky. Camilla was there as well. And
Yes.
they put on, when the king shows up, it's quite an ordeal, as you can imagine, as you know, right?
Well, I'm
Yeah,
sure it was.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
it was
you
wonderful.
you timed it very well.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, we were in
Very nice.
Edinburgh. We're like, what's going on today? They're like, oh, the king's coming. And my wife was able to piece together, well, that's Parliament there. Why don't we stand there? Apparently, it was like the 25th anniversary of Scottish Parliament or something like that.
Yes, yes.
The king was there, so it was wonderful. But Scotland, Northern Ireland, Great Britain, all such beautiful places, very diverse as well, and wonderful, lovely people. So, right back at you. Your praise for the United States. I've got a lot of praise for the United Kingdom. It's wonderful. And when I met the king, I said, long live the king. So, hopefully, he does. He seems like a good man. That would be good. That'd be good. So what's your next venture? You're still working on that 500-page novel of yours?
I am. I think I have a publisher in England, as a matter of fact, and he wants the complete thing. And when I wrote an email asking if he would be interested, I thought, oh, he's probably going to ask me for a couple of chapters. I wasn't expecting that I had to get the whole thing completed and ready in PDF or whatever. So I'm busy with that now. And anyway, and I've written a play, and I write poetry. So I use all these different genres. And do you do any writing yourself?
I do write. I write a lot of screenplays. I work on novels, and mostly it's for self-pleasure. I enter them into contests and that kind of thing. And of course, I script different features that I appear in. I'll do some writing there as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's a great part of your brain to use when you're writing. It's kind of like pure joy. I mean, you just get into that headspace of whatever you're creating, and you live in that world for a while, and it's quite wonderful. Do you feel that way too?
absolutely. And you must love people because of your interviews. You
Mm.
wouldn't be doing them, would you, if you didn't?
Exactly. I do. Well, I get to meet nice people like yourself, so it makes it absolutely worth it. And yeah, it's wonderful. Everybody's got a fascinating story to tell. Everybody's got a fascinating life. Everybody's had trials and tribulations along the way. Some you wouldn't imagine. Some are completely mind-blowing. And everybody's a hero in their own right as well. So I think that's really the fun part of this job. I do love talking to people. And obviously you love talking to people as well, and you love creating. So how long have you been a creator? How long has this creative process been manifesting in you?
I think since I was a teenager, I was always writing stories, and I was told I had an imagination and to use it. So it's been a part of my life.
Yeah. Wonderful,
How
wonderful.
did you- Yes.
I was going to say, so you moved to Miami from London. Have you lived your whole life in the States here in Miami, or have you moved elsewhere?
Well, we've done a lot of traveling because we wanted to see the United States. So we went to Charleston, Savannah, New Orleans, Chicago, of course, New York. We've traveled California, and but we have made our home in Miami uh, for, I guess, maybe six, maybe I don't know how many years. I guess. Well, really, except for when we were living in England, and as I say, I was married for 59 years. So I'm sure we must have been living. Uh, my husband died 15 years ago, and so I've been living in Miami forever.
I know that's a long time. Yep. You've been living in Miami basically since 1952, but despite a little excursion back to the UK for a while. Before we leave you today, I want you to settle an age-old debate. What's the most beautiful city in the South? And most people say two cities. They say Charleston or they say Savannah. So which of those two cities would you say is the most beautiful city?
Well, of course, Oglethorpe is
Mhm.
responsible for Savannah, and the streets are lined with, I think, the whatever the ships was needed to steady it. Um, but Charleston, I think, is my first love. Um, I think uh, my story of United by Blood takes place in Charleston, in Paris, in Madrid, in Gibraltar, in London, in St. Augustine. And St. Augustine is a wonderful city, and it's the oldest. It claims to be the oldest city in America.
Well, you've just rattled off a bunch of great places. So you're setting your book in such beautiful locales. I can't wait to read it. This book, folks, by the way, is wonderful. It's for the youngsters, and you'll enjoy reading to them as well. It is called Moonlight Monsters. It is a story that shows children that courage can shine even in the darkest moments. Heather, thank you so much for joining me here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a real pleasure. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.